Hello and good morning. It's June 19th, 2026. Beautiful drizzly day here in Southern California. So I wanted to go through the Kata Challenge corner for this week where we're starting to look at these critical states targets. Appropriately, the first target is target, and it was a firework symbol. And we're going to look at the price activity around these open interest levels. Hat tip to Phil Wu for turning me on to that idea. And we start always with the long-term context. So this was the daily chart going into Sunday evening last week. Just a simple uh, moving average 5 period on there, and you could see, it's at the upper level of various look back periods here. So definitely a leader, and that's what the fireworks pattern is able to identify. So. This was going into Monday's open on a 60-minute candle chart, and I like to just use this and the PSARs to give it some structure. And then what we have here is, well, you can see it's a pretty clear. We had this low and then a higher low. This was the last high, so higher high, so low, higher low, higher high. And then when it takes out that, to me, that's the confirmed uptrend. So we're in a nice uptrend. We've marked out these kind of little pullback areas because that's a good spot for it to find support when it's marking up in this uptrend. And furthermore, we then also have the orange horizontal level here is where price has tested more than once. Once we get a test more than once, that can become a support and resistance level. And then finally, these maroon colored dotted lines are where there's high open interest in the option chains. So we can see 135, 130, 127, and 125 were the four main levels where there was an unusually large, disproportionately large amount of uh, open interest in the option chains at those levels. So this is what we had going into Monday, and then this is the setup that I wanted to talk about. This was probably the most interesting one of the week. Was we had this blue is the open, so it opened here. We can see that actually it went almost right up to a gain stat and then started failing and came down to this open interest level. And then you can see the coil, this quiet sideways converging trend lines literally right at that open interest level. So that was a pretty interesting formation that happened right there. A good way to spot the coil as well is that the ADX gets very low. And then what we had was this breakout here, and this would be what Ken Long would call a fake one go to, or you might call it a false or failed breakout because there's really no way to know which way it's going to go. It had opened, looks like the day was going high to low, but who knows? It could be a recovery, right? This could just be an SSC. But so, 10, 15 bar breakout or just the simple PSAR flip here, like an SSC pattern, would get you in this direction. But then by the time you could see it got to the open, it started to fail. And that would be where the stop and reverse kind of idea would come in, which seems to happen a lot with these sideways breakouts. You don't know the direction, and often it'll go one way as kind of the final absorption before it goes the other way, like in here. So uh, a entry probably could have been here for the Kata 2 or down here when it broke through the intraday low. And then you see a very large follow through then in closing at the low of the day. So pretty interesting setup there, I think, being able to use these open interest levels to see how price behaves around them. Like in this one, it had that sideways coil that broke out in the afternoon. There was another one as well on Thursday. This one was a little bit harder to spot because it was actually, this is on the 1 minute chart, it was faster. But you can see here the open, and then this is actually that same open interest level. What was it? think 135 here. And so, but we still had that same, uh, the converging trend lines right on that open interest level. And then you see here it was breaking out to the upside. So the same kind of pattern, just this one just took place in a little bit quicker of a context. If we go out to the 5 minute chart, that's what we see here. This was that coil in the morning, and then we didn't have tons of follow through, but we did at least have a tradable move there before it kind of started to peter out here and get absorbed, and then the pullback. But nevertheless, there was something there for sure. So uh, that's all I wanted to show right now for this week, but I hope that was helpful. And you can check out these setups more in our Sunday meeting Owl Bundle user group, or as we call it, OBUG. Thanks for watching.